Welcome to Season 1 of The Chris Hanna Show, where we're going all in on how to improve your impact, your productivity, and performance. Today's podcast is brought to you by Evolving Management. Isn't it about time that companies and leaders rethink and evolve their approach to managing? Visit evolvingmanagement.com for featured content, blogs, manager toolkits, coaching solutions, and more. That's evolvingmanagement.com. Welcome to another episode of The Chris Hanna Show. One of the things I want to talk about today is the fact that we have so many different leaders in many different industries and organizations who are completely checked out. There's been a lot of change and turmoil in the world over the last number of months especially, and that has created a situation that is worsening the experience for leaders. It's not uncommon to hear a lot of talk about employee engagement, but that employee engagement discussion doesn't really factor in or get talked about at a leadership level. There's so many reasons why somebody might be disengaged as a leader, but ultimately it comes down to a variety of factors that I want to talk about here today, and there's some opportunities for improvement to stop people from being so disengaged as a leader. Because honestly, over time, it can take a toll on somebody. There's nothing worse than working in an environment and being 100% miserable doing it. Some people just don't get along with their boss, or they might have somebody who they report to who they might seem or they might feel like they're ineffective. Perhaps the culture of the organization is toxic. Could be lots of office politics going on, or it could be a level of indecisiveness where it can be incredibly challenging to get any work accomplished in a timely manner. There could be peers that someone might not get along with. Sometimes changes within the company happen, and a leader may no longer feel aligned to where the organization is going at that point in their life. Other times there are leaders who are just internally at odds with processes and policies and ultimately decisions that make them feel like an outsider. Despite some of these issues, a lot of people will just continue to work and they'll try and fake it. Ultimately, they start becoming inauthentic and they're struggling to fit in with the overall culture of the organization. Some people will just obviously keep that to themselves, whereas others might share their displeasure with others that they trust. But it can be incredibly damaging to the greater business. Someone could try and adjust their style and approach, but ultimately they're going home exhausted. They're tired, they're burnt out, they're frustrated, they're angry. A lot of employees and leaders who are feeling this way, they do just enough not to get fired. They might want another job or career or opportunity, but maybe they're not ready to look elsewhere. So in a lot of people's heads, they've actually quit already, but they've stayed. And that's one of the worst feelings ever. But unfortunately, in so many organizations, this is happening everywhere. Employees are mentally checking out, going through the motions. They're doing the bare minimum, watching the clock, waiting to escape at 5 p.m. or whatever time they finish. As I said at the beginning, what makes this worse is that many leaders are in the same situation. So I would argue that organizations are not facing a employee, individual contributor problem. They're actually facing a leadership problem. Employee experience is heavily influenced by leadership. And if the leader's disengaged, that can translate and trickle down throughout the rest of the organization. Kind of in the age of having an engagement epidemic in many organizations. If you look at recent research over the last number of years, it says that organizations are really facing a tremendous problem with engagement levels. They're at staggering lows. Unfortunately, in some organizations, there might be scores that might be high or might be improved because some employees and leaders might have determined that it's better to really fake being engaged than deal with the pressure from above or from HR teams. Sometimes it's just easier to deal with the fake engagement score than deal with all the drama that happens when there's a poor score in place. Most of the population needs to work and put money on the table each and every week. But no one really wants to work. How do you get by working and doing a job for over a third of your day or more and be miserable doing it? I think that there are many employees out there and leaders who have a great work ethic, because that's just who they are. There are some people who are just born to work, and they'll do what's required of them because they have that level of responsibility that's been instilled in them since they were a young age, perhaps. But there's also a large percentage of leaders who are just not invested in the mission and vision of the company. There are some organizations that really don't have it clearly articulated what the mission or vision is, or even the values of the organization might be. And so that can make it challenging for someone to feel aligned or connected to what the organization is really all about or trying to achieve. Some organizations, they attempt to buy engagement, stuffing employees with food or incentives to entice, unlocking discretionary effort. In fact, employee engagement is all about unlocking discretionary effort. If executives and senior leaders are interested in trying to get their leadership teams to do more with less, or be excited, or try and tackle certain initiatives in a timely manner, they need discretionary effort. But unfortunately, there's a reliance on short-term solutions that fail to address the root cause of dissatisfaction, which is ultimately the employee experience. I say in one of my talks that employee experience is really comprised of 4 main areas. I say there's a strategy that's required, then it's people, process, and tools. All 4 of these elements are crucial to creating the type of employee experiences that people want to have in wherever they work. But with checked out leaders, achieving an outstanding employee experience is not possible. The only way it can happen is if all leaders at all levels of the organization are aligned and bought in. What happens, though, is that organizations talk about providing value for employees and how that can help them become, say, more customer-focused, but a crucial link is often missed, and that is leadership support. In most organizations, leaders are expected to drive the performance of their team, right? They are expected to be self-motivated, to succeed and hit targets. The unfortunate reality is that it's hard to drive improvement if you as a leader are unsupported yourself, if you're checked out, if you're unmotivated. There are a lot of leaders in many organizations who are ambitious, and they're confident, and they're full of ideas, but they can't move anything forward. And sure, you might not win every single battle, but when you start to lose and come up against so much resistance and don't have the support of those around and above you, it can be frustrating. Honestly, one of the reasons that you see so many people struggle within a business is that they are struggling to overcome communication barriers. There is activity that happens within teams and individuals that's siloed or walled off. And that type of culture is killing progress and innovation. If companies can find a way to provide support to leaders, improving communication and process efforts, that's when you can start to unlock leadership potential. I think it's important to note that at the highest level of the organization, leaders need to make sure that they are empowering those that they support to make decisions that could drive improvements. The inertia of moving forward on initiatives is often due to decisions around resources taking way too long. Combine that with a change in priorities that can happen often in some organizations, it can feel like there's a lack of a coherent strategy. All of this encourages leaders to check out mentally. Feeling this way, leaders just want to escape the office at the end of the day as soon as possible. Obviously, if employees see their leaders acting this way, they're encouraged to do the same. So what organizations need to focus on doing is stopping the cycle. There's too much firefighting and chaos happening in many organizations. That is causing their leaders to not focus on the tasks that can provide the most value. If leaders can be supported at the highest level of the organization with the right tactics, the right strategy, process, tools, technology, they can overcome poor engagement. They can produce outstanding results. Start with leaders, then work your way down. That's what's going to make a difference. If organizations can prioritize the leadership experience, that can take care of the employee experience and cascading that success throughout the rest of the business. You've been listening to The Chris Hanna Show. To have me speak at your next event, or for additional solutions to help you achieve more than you thought possible, visit chrishanna.ca today. For other solutions and resources designed to help companies and leaders rethink and evolve their approach to managing, be sure to check out evolvingmanagement.com. Lastly, please remember to subscribe and share to receive the latest episodes wherever you listen to your podcast. We look forward to connecting with you again soon for another episode of The Chris Hanna Show.